and welcome to the Citizen Report. I'm John DeShaney, and thank you for joining me today. As always, this newscast is real in-depth American. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always good to be back with you. Well, you can see I'm not in the studio again. I will be back in the studio this evening to tape the second installment in the new mini-series where I'm reviewing the book Secret on the Tarmac by Christopher Sign. But for this live show, I'm not in the studio, as you can obviously tell. But I wanted to come on this afternoon to sort of provide an update on what's been going on in the world, and also to let you know that tomorrow, Sunday, August 22nd, the Citizen Report will actually be undergoing a rebrand. It's going to get a new logo, new music, new graphics. So we've been Ben and I have been working on this for a number of months now, and we are ready, just about to roll it out. So please tune in tomorrow for the rebranded look of the Citizen Report. I think you're going to really like it. The new logo, I'll just let you know, it has a very strong Christian theme to it. So Ben and I are both really excited. So please be on the lookout tomorrow. Perhaps late afternoon or evening, for a broadcast of the Citizen Report. I'm not sure yet if I'll do it live or as a taped broadcast, but just to let everyone know that that is coming. The rebrand of the Citizen Report is coming. So good things are in store, and so please be sure to tune in. Now to the top story here, and this is from newswars.com. I'm going to jump straight into the headlines here. And this is a pretty, not surprising, but still, it's got the shock factor to it. And this is what it says. From newswars.com, the headline: Breaking. InfoWars host Owen Schroyer charged for peacefully standing on steps near Capitol building. Now let's scroll down here, because it actually seems to have plenty of exculpatory evidence in favor of Owen. Now, by exculpatory evidence, I'll just say briefly, that basically means that evidence that proves your innocence. So we know that this is political persecution right here. And this is what this article starts out with. InfoWars host Owen Schroyer of the War Room announced during Friday's broadcast that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C. is charging him with illegally entering a restricted area on the Capitol grounds in disorderly conduct during the January 6th rally. The criminal complaint filed by the FBI Washington Field Office's Joint Terrorism Task Force alleges Schroyer violated a February 2020 Deferred Prosecution Agreement, or DPA, from when he was charged for interrupting a House Judiciary Committee meeting on December 9, 2019. According to the DPA, Schroyer wasn't allowed to engage in disruptive conduct at any place upon U.S. Capitol grounds with intent to disturb a session of Congress or any other Capitol hearings. Now this is why I personally say there's plenty of exculpatory evidence, because right here it not only makes a claim, it actually backs it up with a screenshot. Basically he appears in a video literally titled "Video, Alex Jones Tried to Stop Storming of DC Capitol." Now if you know anything about InfoWars, you know that Owen Schroyer, he does his War Room show, but the person in charge of InfoWars is Alex Jones. So they're both working together on the same team. So if Alex Jones is trying to stop storming of DC Capitol, then Owen Schroyer obviously is also wanting to stop the storming of DC Capitol. So right there we have already, at least at the very bare minimum, circumstantial evidence that says he was not there to disrupt things. So obviously right here it says, so this would constitute the War Room host trying to stop disruptive conduct at the Capitol grounds, not engaging in that behavior. So, and then it continues on down here. Schroyer was also not allowed to parade or demonstrate within any of the Capitol buildings. No footage or images place Owen within any Capitol buildings that day. It does appear as if the complaint is attempting to widen the definition of United States Capitol grounds to include the steps Schroyer stood on. So, and here's the bogus criminal complaint here. Obviously, like I said a moment ago, this is very much political persecution, in my humble opinion. I believe, I hope, and I truly hope that things turn out okay for Owen Schroyer, because I have to say, I don't have any confidence in the judicial system of this country, and I would trust that most, if not all, of my audience is probably feeling the same way about that, because we know that they're not exactly keen on due process. If they don't like you, they will find a reason to persecute you. So that is the update from Owen concerning Owen Schroyer. So obviously the deep state's in panic mode. I find the timing of this very interesting. It happened, this news broke on a Friday, and I saw it yesterday evening or Friday evening. And obviously they are, that's the thing you have to understand about the deep state. They like to try to put things out there that aren't exactly favorable to them on a Friday, because most people are going away on their break and things like that. Now, what I will say concerning, and the reason I mention that is because I don't think if due process was actually followed, that this would actually, that I do believe that Owen Schroyer would be exonerated. So they create this caricature, if you will, of charges against him, and that is how they that's how the deep state rolls. If they don't have evidence against you, they just make it up, or they just say things. So that is what the deep state likes to do against patriots. And we know that other people from January 6th, they're being left in prison, and they're not being given any due process rights. As I understand, they're not even being given, what you would typically expect. They're not being given bail. They're just being kind of left in prison indefinitely. That's not the American judicial system as the Constitution ordains. So that is very concerning. And it is. Truth You Can Handle is tuning in, and he writes, it's called Color of Law. Absolutely. It is Color of Law. Because they are not operating within the confines of the Constitution. This is something else that people don't understand. And I say this like a broken record, and I know I've said this many times before, whether it's on this broadcast or not on this broadcast. The Constitution does not limit the rights of the people. It actually limits the size and scope of the government. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. The Constitution doesn't give us rights. It limits what the government can do, how it can exist. And if it exceeds those confines, then it's no longer a constitutional government. And if it's no longer a constitutional government, it's not legitimate. That's not harmful rhetoric. That's just what the Constitution is. In essence, if the government exceeds its boundaries, then at that point it becomes tyrannical. So, of course, I'll keep tabs on that, obviously, as time goes on. I'm going to switch gears here, and I know that this is a big distraction event, but there are real consequences to what's going on in Afghanistan for particularly the Christian community. And because this is a Christian podcast, I felt like I owed due diligence in covering this. So this is the headline from the Daily Wire, and the headline reads, Taliban going door to door seeking Christians, searching through phones for Bible apps report. And this was published on August 19th by John Brown, and this is what it says. Afghan Christians are reportedly fleeing to the mountains in a desperate attempt to escape the Taliban, who is going door to door trying to kill them. An underground church that partners with Frontier Alliance International, or FAI, has reported that the Taliban are targeting Christians for death. Did you get that? They are targeting Christians for death. Unbelievable. And this is what the FAI says. The Taliban has a hit list of known Christians they are targeting to pursue and kill. The U.S. Embassy is defunct, and there is no longer a safe place for believers to take refuge. All borders to neighboring countries are closed, and all flights to and from have been halted, with the exception of private planes. People are fleeing into the mountains looking for asylum. They are fully reliant on God, who is the only one who can and will protect them. Absolutely. I mean, and I'll just stop right there for a second. I mean, we're supposedly a Christian nation, and yet this is what we're doing by virtue of allowing this to happen to the Christian community. It's an utter disgrace. Let me keep going here. The Taliban are going door to door taking women and children. The people must mark their houses with an X if they have a girl over 12 years old, so the Taliban can take them. If they find a young girl and the house was not marked, they will execute the entire family. If a married woman 25 years or older has been found, the Taliban promptly kill her husband, do whatever they want to her, and then sell her as a sex slave. Husbands and fathers have given their wives and daughters guns and told them that when the Taliban come, they can choose to kill them or kill themselves. It is their choice. And this article continues. Taliban are also reportedly rifling through people's phones to look for any apps that would give them away as Christians. And this is a quote from Dr. Rex Rogers, who is president of the Christian nonprofit organization SAT7 North America, and this is his quote. We're hearing from reliable sources that the Taliban demand people's phones, and if they find a downloaded Bible on your device, they will kill you immediately. It's incredibly dangerous right now for Afghans to have anything Christian on their phones. The Taliban have spies and informants everywhere. I'll stop right there. So let me speak on this for a second. Basically, first of all, we as a country have no business being in other countries, trying to set up puppet governments. Basically, that's basically what the Afghan government was from, I think, 2004 until, I guess, this past week or about Sunday or so. But because this all happened, in that we now pulled out the way we did, this is our, in my opinion, and I could be totally off on this, and again, I have to base on what is being claimed based on hand-me-down sources. But these people, the deep state, they purposely allowed this to happen. I think that one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to use this as an excuse to perpetually remain there, or they're just purposely destabilizing the region, because that's what the deep state likes to do. They don't really care who's fighting who. They make money on both sides of war. That's what the deep state, the private Western Central Bank, does. That's exactly what they do. But I will also say that if you think about this, we have illegals coming over this country, and we have these Democrats and rhinos saying, "Oh, we just need to bring them all in. Bring them all in. Don't vet them. Don't look into their history or anything. Just bring them all in. Give them voting rights." Meanwhile, we have veterans that are homeless, and the Democrats, if they could get away with it, they would probably literally spit on them, because that's what they think of them. They see them as utter scum. So we have people that actually fought for this country. They're being treated like scum. And then we have Christians who, in my estimation, of course, as with anyone, you need to do thorough background check on them. But if they are legitimately qualifying for asylum, they should be allowed, in my opinion, to be granted asylum, because that is the kind of people the asylum laws were created for. Not these illegal immigrants. These illegal immigrants, they just want free stuff. And I don't mean to sound callous, but that's really, when you listen to them, it's like, "Oh, I was told if I'd come here, Biden would give me free stuff." So that is where we stand at this point. The deep state, they could care less about this country. They don't want us to have sovereignty. They want to destabilize other countries' sovereignty, and that's what we're seeing here. Now, again, let me be perfectly clear. I don't think it's our business to be in any other country, for the sake of keeping them stable, because our founding fathers did not want us doing that. I guess the modern term is nation building or something. But it is beyond the pale disgraceful what has taken place, but it exposes even further what the deep state is all about. So let me keep going. I think I touched on that long enough, but I may revisit that. But we have to remember that, of course, this is all a distraction. We know that the Arizona audits, that is going to be imminently released. It's apparently going to be first sent to the Arizona State Senate. They will then, as the State Senate, create a final report for publication to the general public. And what I'm hearing and what others are hearing is September. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I can bet you anything the deep state is going to try absolutely everything that they will do everything they can to get us distracted. And I think another thing that they're doing with Afghanistan is it's a big distraction, because everyone is, even Democrats, if they're truly honest, are upset about this, because they're seeing how utterly disgraceful this is. We even have the UK Parliament holding Biden in contempt. I mean, that is how far this has gone at this point. So I wanted to show you a couple of clips here from the mainstream media, and the reason I wanted to do that is because I think that we're seeing a couple things. We're seeing them panicking, and they're no longer able to keep it under their vest, so to speak, when they're on the air, because now they're beginning to realize that all of this is coming back to bite them. It's boomeranging back on them, because now the people are not agreeing with this. I think just about every American would agree we should not even be in Afghanistan, but the way we withdrew was utterly disgraceful. And let me say something else about that. I just remembered this. The military says, oh, we don't have the capability of getting the Americans out. Well, if that were actually the case, then how was it that we as a country was smart enough to build the atomic bomb, the Manhattan Project? How is it that we had the intellect to do that and successfully deploy it in Japan, and basically effectively ended that war, the World War II at that point? How is it that we were able to do that, and yet we can't rescue our own people from a country, in the Middle East? The UK is sending their special forces, as I understand, to get their people out. Why aren't we? I think this, and I'm not sure about this, I want to say it was the French government was actually basically had like a motorcade. Other countries are getting involved. They're getting their people out, and yet our country says, "Oh, if you can get to the airport, we'll get you out," even though the Taliban completely surrounds the airport. Oh, and by the way, don't come right now because it's too dangerous, and we can't guarantee your safety. So use your best judgment. Is that the best we can do? Is that the country is that the best this military can offer? I guarantee you the military does have the capability of doing what it needs to do. It's that the deep state does not care about Americans. Actually, they would celebrate if Americans were not able to get out. Because let's also remember that concerning the zombie Jews, I should say, they're all about population control as well. So you put all the pieces together and you start to understand that they could care less about you, the deep state, I mean. Let me go ahead, before I get too far on that tangent, let me go ahead and pull this up. Like I said a few moments ago, this is the mainstream media. Like I said, they're starting to panic, and I think that this is perfectly exemplified by this example, and then I'll play one from CNN. So this one is about, let me check the time here, less than 2 minutes, and then I'm going to play another one. This first one's going to be from ABC News, and then the others from CNN. And let me just give full video credit to the News Junkies Cartoons YouTube channel for both of these clips. By the way, I would go subscribe to this channel if you want to, because it's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. So let me play this for you here. Let me get it up on screen for you, and then we'll play this.
This remains very much a disaster, and one of the contributing factors here is when you listen to the president, he is saying things that simply do not comport with the reality that we are seeing with our own eyes. That you hear Ian Pannell describing, for instance, when he says that every American can get to that airport, there hasn't been an issue with that. That doesn't comport with the reality that you heard Ian describe. It also doesn't comport with the reality that the State Department has been issuing in guidance that we have seen from the State Department to Americans in Afghanistan, encouraging people to make the trip to the airport to be evacuated. But even in the State Department's guidance, this is a cable that went out just on Wednesday, the United States government cannot ensure safe passage to the Hamid Karzai International Airport. So the State Department is telling Americans that they cannot guarantee their safe passage to the airport. And you heard from the president today that we don't even know how many Americans are in Afghanistan right now. So how can the president say that there isn't an issue getting Americans safely to the airport? And then the other thing, David, when the president said there have been no question from our allies, that our allies have been united on this. That's not exactly correct either. I mean, we saw in the last few days the British defense minister literally in tears, breaking back tears, talking about how the West looks weak in all of this and the fear of terrorism going forward.
They're really showing themselves to do really well. Come on, man.
Okay, so that was from ABC News. So there's probably a better example out there, but I thought that this was at least gave you a small taste of the panic that we're starting to see openly by the mainstream media. And that's fine with me. That's fine with me because they're losing the narrative. And the American people, they're not agreeing with this. They're waking up to this. They're understanding that there's an agenda behind why there's this chaos ensuing. There's multiple agendas with it, and the American people starting to wake up and realize what's really going on. So let me play this. I think this is even more, what's the word? This exemplifies just even more how much the mainstream media is panicking right now, and that they're starting to turn on each other. That's how you know that they're not just losing, but I mean losing big time. So let me play this for you. Again, this is from the YouTube channel, the News Junkies Cartoons, and I will continue after this.
Is the panic, the lack of clear information. The rumor mill is in overdrive. There's hysteria. You have Taliban fighters with whips, with guns. You have U.S. and U.K. soldiers who are not allowing people in. You have mixed messaging coming through about what kind of paperwork you need and how you can get on a flight and where you can go. I mean, it is just an absolute mess. And we heard President Biden say yesterday in his comments to ABC News that this is not a failure. And I think a lot of people outside that airport, particularly those taking the kinds of extreme actions we're just talking about, would like to know, if this isn't failure, what does failure look like exactly?
They're really showing themselves to do really well. Come on, man.
I just have to say I love that little thing at the end where Biden makes that comment. That's pretty clever because no Democrat was harmed in the making of this video, right? So, anyways, once again, we're seeing that the mainstream media is panicking. I think this is only going to intensify as time goes on. When you are seeing your enemy, and let's be very clear about something, the mainstream media is the enemy. It is the enemy of the people. And when you're seeing the deep state turn on each other like this, that is how you know they're in real trouble. Now, no, we're not out of the woods, don't get me wrong, but to me, this is an encouraging sign that they are now turning on each other. They can no longer keep this narrative up because they're looking at their ratings. Their ratings are going through the floor, and then they see what their own viewers are saying, that they're seeing that the American people, they're not agreeing with this whatsoever. In fact, not just this, I mean everything else. They see Biden as an absolute joke, and he is. He's not even a real president. I call him a Fisher-Price president, and I call him that for a reason because he's, it's like, it's like as a little kid, you drive that little Fisher-Price car. I had one. Maybe you had one of those too growing up. You were driving a little pretend car. That is what Biden is as a president, to use an analogy, basically. So, so that's a good sign. That's a good sign. And we know that, like I said, the audits are going to be coming up soon. So very, like I said, very encouraging sign. So I want to share this with you now. This is going. I'm going to switch gears quite a bit. I wanted to bring to you more of the contemporary stuff first. Now we're going to go back into history a little bit to the year. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. 2003. This is from a German, a newscast in Germany. Okay, and it's called Tagesschau, and now, of course, it's not in English, so I've got the subtitles put up here in English, translated to English, and it's that kind that it's done automatically by YouTube. So I'm not. It may not translate perfectly at all times, but what I really want you to focus on, and again, this is I'm switching gears here, but this is concerning the Charlie 19 situation. Okay. I really want you to listen to this because I want you to ask yourself, think about all the mandates that have been going on with the plain doctor wearing these pieces of cloth on your face that do absolutely nothing. They're telling you have to get the zombie juice or you lose your job, you lose your livelihood, you have to stay in your home, you have to socially distance, all that stuff. Think about all of that stuff that's happened. And yet, miraculously, the flu just disappears. Oh, and by the way, before I get to this clip, let me mention something. I was at a grocery store last night, and as I was walking up to the building, there were two banners up. There was one banner telling people, oh, you could get the how do I say this without triggering an algorithm, but the zombie juice. And then the other one says that you could get your a free flu shot. They were side by side. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that kind of interesting that they're now starting to push the flu shot again. So is it just a coincidence, or I don't know, but we know that the new tests are going to be released towards the end of the year. And it's been said, particularly by X22 report, that when that happens, all of a sudden the flu numbers are going to go like this, and the 19 numbers are going to go like this, because the tests that are used now, how do I say this? They are Fisher-Price tests. I'll just say that, I guess. Okay, so let me play this for you now, and this is the question I want you to ask yourself as you're listening to this. If the C thing was around in some form, probably a different composition, but if it was around back then in the form that it was, again, it's not the same thing, but they were calling it the corona, and then the other part of that word. Back then, I don't remember locking down in 2003. Now, of course, this is in Germany, but ask yourself, if this was going on back then, why are we locking down now? Because it's not about health. That's why. This has nothing to do with health. This has all to do about control. So let me play this for you. It'll take me a second to get it up, of course. And hopefully you can see the subtitles on this one. And let's play this. It's just over 2 minutes long.
Bernhard-Nocht-Institut hat das erste Mal bei einem deutschen Patienten das sogenannte Coronavirus nachgewiesen, das als Erreger der Lungenkrankheit SARS gilt. Nach Angaben der Forscher bestätigte sich damit der Verdacht bei dem Rentner mit 99%iger Sicherheit. Die Ansteckungsgefahr in Deutschland schätzen Experten jedoch nach wie vor als gering ein.
In der Lungenfachklinik im nordrhein-westfälischen Hemer wird der 72-Jährige seit über einer Woche auf der Quarantänestation behandelt. Einige Tage nach seiner Asienreise, unter anderem nach Hanoi und Singapur, hat er über Husten und starkes Fieber geklagt. Labortests im Hamburger Tropeninstitut haben nun nachgewiesen, dass der Patient mit dem als SARS-Auslöser geltenden Coronavirus infiziert ist.
Das bedeutet natürlich, dass jetzt der erste Europäer oder der erste Deutsche infiziert ist. Und man muss wahrscheinlich noch schärfere Kontrollen machen, um an den Flughäfen die Leute, die mit Fieber und Husten ankommen, wirklich zu isolieren.
Allein am Frankfurter Flughafen treffen täglich Dutzende von Flugzeugen aus Fernost und Kanada ein, wo die Lungenkrankheit am stärksten grassiert.
Das heißt, in Deutschland kann jederzeit jemand auftauchen, der aus Hongkong oder den entsprechenden Gegenden kommt, der sich infiziert hat und der jetzt Symptome hat.
Um sich anzustecken, müsste der Kontakt zu einem Infizierten aber relativ nah sein. Experten warnen vor einer Hysterie, denn verglichen mit einer Grippe sei bei der Lungenkrankheit bisher keine seuchenartige Ausbreitung zu beobachten. Auch dem Patienten in Hemer geht es mittlerweile wieder besser.
Der Patient ist 72 Jahre alt, der hat es mit seiner normalen Abwehrkraft weggesteckt.
Nennenswerte Stornierungen deutscher Urlauber für Südostasien oder Sicherheitshinweise gibt es noch nicht. Reisenden wird allerdings empfohlen, eine Atemschutzmaske mitzunehmen.
In Hongkong haben die Behörden damit begonnen, als Konsequenz der SARS-Erkrankungen einen ganzen Wohnblock zu räumen. 100 Familien wurden mit Polizeieskorte in Quarantänelager am Rande der chinesischen Metropole gebracht. Bislang sind in Hongkong mindestens 15 Menschen an SARS gestorben. Weltweit haben sich mehr als 1700 Personen infiziert. Das schwere akute Atemwegssyndrom hat sich von Südchina aus in mindestens 14 andere Länder verbreitet.
Okay, so apparently they did do some form of quarantine in Hong Kong, as you saw there towards the end of that report. But I think what was very interesting was that, I don't know if you caught this, and again, this is basically translating automatically, so it may not translate perfectly. As you saw there in the middle, it kind of dropped out a bit, but it seemed like, and I'm going to go back to that part just to make sure I'm absolutely correct in saying this. I'm going to make sure I'm absolutely correct in saying this, but contact with an infected person would, hang on a second, would have to be relatively close. Would have to be relatively close. So wait a second. So are they saying back then that you have to be in close proximity to someone to spread it? If that's the case, then why are they saying you have to, you know, basically keep yourself in your, you know, you remember back last year, of course, they said you couldn't leave your house, you couldn't have friends over, and basically they were acting like, you know, it didn't matter where you were going to probably get it or risking get it. So it just points out that, again, it's not the exact same thing now as it was back then, obviously, because, you know, I can't use the word, but this thing doesn't stay the way it is. It mutates, and it just naturally mutates, and as it mutates, it gets the trend goes like this. I can't use the word, okay, but the level of issues that it will have if someone gets it will go like this over time, because that's what they do. As it continues to exist, it doesn't get worse, it gets better, you know. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, because again, they didn't at least in this country, I don't remember locking down at all. I don't even know if I heard about it. Now maybe I did, but I was a little kid back then, you know. I was what, 6 years old that year, 2003. I mean, it's absolutely crazy that we're acting this way now, and yet back then, yes, there were some actions taken, as you saw towards the end of that report, in Hong Kong, but, you know, concerning quarantine, but not on the scale that they've done globally in the last year and a half. So I just thought that was a very interesting thing, and I would encourage people to let me know what you think about that. Maybe there's something else, maybe if you see articles out there that relate to this, please feel free to forward it to me, because I'd like to know more about this. And again, yeah, it probably was on the news in this country back then, but they certainly didn't lock us down as a population. So Truth You Can Handle writes, zombie juice equals more deadly, must pay. Flu equals less deadly or free. Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing them already building the rhetoric back up about flu shots, and like I said, at the end of the year, they're going to put out the revised PCR tests, and like I said, the flu numbers are going to go like this, and then the 19 is going to go like this. So, and again, you have to remember this, and I have to be, this is YouTube, so I have to be so careful how I say this. But it's already been demonstrated, it's already been said, that they never isolated what they're saying is out there now. So what are we really dealing with? Again, if the flu numbers all of a sudden start going like this and the 19 number starts going like this, then cause and effect, what does that mean? In my opinion, the one that goes up like this, it might have been that. Now it may be its own thing, but again, they've never isolated this. There have been doctors that have requested samples, and they've been told, oh, we don't have that. Oh, we don't actually have it isolated, so we can't really help you with that request. So yeah. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know, but I that's what I understand it to be. So let me keep rolling here. I'm getting towards the end of the broadcast now. Let me get to the Bible verse of the day. Of course, at the end of the broadcast, that's what I do here on the Citizen Report. And this is in the King James, and this is Hebrews chapter 13, verses 5 and 6. And it reads, "Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have, for he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me." Now I was thinking about what's going on in the Taliban, and all the Christians being persecuted over there, and I also think about what's going on over here with all the, I don't even want to use persecution because it doesn't compare between losing your life versus being denied entry into a government building, but I think about how we as Christians, if we have that conviction to not wear a mask, if we have that conviction not to put the zombie juice into our body, and yet we're being denied basically being part of society, we read that verse and we have to remember that if we're trusting in God, if we say the Lord is my helper, we should not be fearing what man does to us. They can take away our lives, but they can't take our soul. Because we belong to God. So, I think as time goes on, obviously things are going to get much, much worse. I hate to say that. I don't want to sound doom and gloom, but frankly, in one way or another, as we get closer and closer to the end times, things are going to get worse, but we have to remember that to trust God and to remember that He's in control, that we belong to God, and that we should not be allowing the lost the lost world dictate to us whether we're fearful or not, or whether we shouldn't let them bully us into putting a mask on or get the zombie juice. So anyways, I think I've said about all I should on that topic, but just a reminder, as I said at the beginning of the show, that just a second, let me do something real quick here. My apologies. Just a reminder that my second installment of the book review miniseries, Secret on the Tarmac by Christopher Sign, that will be I will be producing that in the studio tonight, I hope. And then tomorrow, be sure to tune in for the debut of the relaunch of the Citizen Report. We'll be getting new logo, new music, new graphics. Ben and I, like I said, are very excited about it, and we just about got everything in place now. The only thing I've got to do is get the virtual backdrop put into the system. I'll be doing that, obviously, in short order by tomorrow, hopefully. And be sure to tune in. I think you're going to like what changes are in store as we sort of take a stronger Christian, are making our broadcast more about being a Christian podcast, not just by saying that we are, but actually in our logo and what we cover and things like that. This is a Christian broadcast. This is a Christian newscast. So this is just more changes that demonstrate that proves our resolve for that. So please be sure to tune in tomorrow, as I said. So on that note, God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for watching the Citizen Report. And I'm going to ask everyone to continue to keep me in your prayers. I really do appreciate it. I've been undergoing a lot of spiritual warfare, very intense spiritual warfare in recent months. So please continue to pray for me. I really would appreciate that. And if you have a prayer request, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'd be more than happy to pray for you if you ask me to. And by the grace of God, I will see you right back here again next time. Have a great day, everyone.